All right, it's finally come to it. Their stocks listed, all 5,600 and some out of them. I'd kicked around the thesis for a while. Obviously, I have Boot Barn. This is a general ripoff of a stock scanner. I just typed in all listed stocks and typed it into Google. The first hit it gave me, I don't remember the web page, but it was kind of like a stock scanner, but it had all listed stocks. And I copied them all. I got their names. I got their market value, their price, or whatever that is. I don't remember. The name, its sector, and some other type of sector, I guess, inside of there. But I couldn't get the exchange. I wish I could. You got to pay for that one. But good enough for now. It's not that I couldn't brute force that argument by forcing it into there later. Good for the AI pitch we're going to start to break down right now. It's going to be important that either I find a way to build the material under rate of change, right? Some type of the basic thing is that this AI is going to do a bunch of brute force work for you. Just instead of me smashing it together with the calculator, what it does is it creates a program, HTML, right, and some JavaScript stuff that allows it to do some real basic TPU, basic autonomous calculatoring inside the system. And here I went in 1,000 brick units across sheets, so you can also add together sheets. I didn't, because I was having some kind of problem with it. I wasn't sure something was going on, so I just brute force added these numbers. But like individual sections, you just want it to have a simple column that it's adding together all these pieces, and it'll give you a value. You add all them up, and it roughly is about $250,000 to buy one of everything on here. Now, there begins another type of problem of when to look at this overall nature. I'm going to kind of cover from a Fed's perspective from here. Firstly, I have to know everything in the mountain that can do this money, and this is not everything. This is to derive what's left out of the dark matter equation on inverted square law. I know this number roughly is that much. That correlates to the order books, and that backtracks to market cap and a bunch of other things because it has to. Otherwise, you have a cosmological crisis of colony collapse on your hands. So that has to be some kind of math. I might not be able to do it shorthand right now of how they adjusted that. But like the S&P and NASDAQ, all of these numbers are drivers that go into it. You don't know when they're up, you don't know when they're down, and you don't really know what's going on in there short of the order books that said that's what happened, that's the event that led to the change, and therefore the chain rule that goes into that idea. So for me, again, what you're looking at, what you will be looking at, this is my first copy. You just got your GitHub stuff done or your Unity stuff, and you're laying it out. What that becomes, especially here in these line graphs and bar graphs and stuff that we're going to want to change this over to whatever form it comes, is that marginal hold, marginal buy on me individualizing from the Fed's perspective everything. But from an individual's perspective, which ones to hit because they have the best return for me. Any combinations of these things? Is there a range of the price that I'm in that limits that gives me some natural break-offs to that number so I can kind of stay in a bandwidth of operating procedures that I like? And therefore, you could argue how that overall individualized, if we added all that up and had the Excel for it, or some kind of sentient conscience to that base, whether it be programmed in or I train somebody to pay attention to that, or when they see this basic form it knows to come back over and run that process, or set it up to do a bunch of evolutions, key off at 10,000 and then kick it off into some other metrics. I can always analyze that material later. I can always rebug it and get back in there and kind of change that around. But in here, 5,000 is pretty, it's a lot of information to handle, especially when you consider from $3 or a penny to just 1,000 of them in this alphabetical sequence, or not alphabetical sequence, what's going down inside of there. Alphabetical is a variant. You could argue that true. In lunar phases alphabetically, you want to buy one at a time until it's all done. Your unit for the week is this, so eventually it'll break through that. until you acquire all of this in their proper movements, because you would still want to wait for a dip to put them in any here. For the game score, let's say I have this number, it's at a rate of change, and I got some JavaScript and Python, and I managed to make it some sentient AI adder over there with Ben Eater and a breadboard. Well, then I would still need this number, like I would need the power sources number, or how to augment that feeds and speeds in terms of the timing. And because here timing is still going to go mathematical, it's still going to be in that way. Here was that chain where you could even argue that that was the derivative, high or low, in any argument here. It's more of a form. We know that this is 1 over any fractal of that. Any squared combination of this can equal 1, this can equal 1, any combinations of those can equal 1, but it always starts hydrogen gambit. That's one of those fun things with that terminating series or something inside of here. Eventually, no matter what combination you do to achieve all that, once that became that, it will be 1, and then it will change from that regular mechanism, even though it might have soft maxed all the way through that. And I only say that because individually the thesis may be pure enough to do that, but overall with everybody else as far as the population in that market, making it the S1S order of the here, again, basically the Laplacian pole. We're starting a Fourier right here at any point on that market. Now, there might be some reason for me to go back -1. And there may be some ideas to take those 2 points and add them together, where B plus A equals C, but also A plus B could correlate to that C answer. They want to be in a lot of those qubits and superpositions as far as what they do, but neutrinos are still going to be coming in the ice shelf of Mars or America, right? Well, Antarctica anyways. You got ice, it's an abundancy, it's a natural gravity buff on what the system is, and 9.8 is homogeneous, but it's not. I really don't know what they're doing in there for what it does, but it also gives me a name for a research element. Here, just generalized library as far as mechanical learning or machine learning is the chip that I found and cracked into says, well, in a way, it's just speaking a different language. If it understands that language, or I understand that, because there's a void inside of here, this limited system would need some level of AI. Does that come into any kind of names when we go to the computer science, semiconductor equipment materials? Maybe they got the index on it or some file. It could even be an asset manager if I started kicking it into there by other names. But if general relativity, and I programmed in the weights for Minimax on this, that's why it would choose what it chose. The same way I chose what I chose in some Ways and Means Committee about how the physics of that bill works out. And from there, whatever they grab up, that's better to be in our books, because then we can overall manage that. You wanted that number? Great. What might be the problem is time. And, of course, the overall cyclical that comes into this idea. But you will have to, you fight gravity, you lose. Day-night cycles, 24 hours, fitness stuff. We can argue the 9:30 to 4. We can argue what bit does. Technically, we're not doing that. We're mining right now. We're playing a bit of a game thesis right now. We argued what the Laplacian may look like here, and yet this looks nothing like the Laplacian. Nuclear hugs, QED. What is the Laplacian field, or the Laplacian field theory? Yeah. What is interesting about that statement? Well, just because they have Apple out here seems to key to number 1 for whatever reasons, popularity or whatever chart metrics they were doing. They'll fight each other. What's up? So individually, they all are going to have some overlay with each other, and they're fractalizing into their, both of them sell electronics. Some are software and hardware for, you got to have a computer to make the internet work realistically. and some kind of shipping line to get it there. So again, those overall comms are super important, that everybody's speaking the same language here to know, like, that's the rig guidance, we agree, the rest is being mad at the cow or the cow being mad at you about it. But otherwise, it's a pretty mechanical mini-max type of operation that would go to build this into your Weebles platform before it would build into why you need both of those forms. If you were getting into the banking standards, now these numbers are going to turn to straight John, Bob, Alice, Tom. They're going to be in there for what their big player set is. This was the investment for the week. This was the name of the company they put it into under the heading of, so whatever you're doing. And it's just something to try to take in. It's a 55 anti-meme, 33 math problem. It can melt your face.